So who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today?
My name is Bill Taranto, and I'm president of the Merck Global Health Innovation Fund, which is Merck's corporate venture fund that's dedicated to digital and technology.
That's great. So is this your first time coming to a HITLAB Summit, or are you a seasoned veteran?
I'm a seasoned veteran.
All right.
I have the fortunate, I'm part of the Breakthrough Alliance. I'm the chairman of the board of the Breakthrough Alliance, and have known Stan Kashnowski for many, many years, and have participated probably the last 4 or 5 years in a number of the events that have been put on through HITLAB.
Wow, that's great. So in your 4 or 5 years, how have you seen these events being beneficial both to you and your organization and also to the other people who attend them?
Well, it's about community, right? And I think, when they first started, like anything, it started small, but you can see today at today's event, people online and people in person, there's probably close to 400 people participating. And that's important, right? And I think for the tri-state area, and especially here in New York, building a community around healthcare and specifically digital health, I think is important. And I find that, by participating in these types of events, I get to not only meet local investors, but local entrepreneurs and even students that participate, which I think, they're the next generation of those that are going to participate in healthcare. So you get a really great chance to help build the community, which I think is the most important piece.
Absolutely. Well, as a student, I'm biased, but I do completely agree. So you mentioned that you work for Merck. Do you mind talking a little bit about your organization and also your relationship with HITLAB over the years?
Okay. So as I said, the Merck Global Health Innovation Fund is Merck's corporate venture firm that's dedicated to digital and technology. We focus on a number of areas, mostly across the pharmaceutical value chain, so everything from clinical development, clinical research, through clinical ops, all the way through sort of the sales and marketing, which includes things like supply chain in the middle. Right now as a fund, we're a growth investment fund, so we focus mostly on Series C or later. We'll do an A and B round occasionally, but we're not chartered for startup or seed capital at this time. Today, we're a $500 million evergreen fund. We have 38 portfolio companies, so pretty big portfolio right now, partly just due to the climate of not being able to exit anything, recently, but hopefully we'll be able to do that next couple of years. The bulk of our investments are in a couple of different areas, mostly in sort of the AI and ML and drug discovery. We have a lot of investments that are covering sort of where the pharmaceutical industry is trying to change the way or enhance or augment the way they do drug discovery. Can we get drugs to the market faster? Clinical operations space, how we do clinical trials and bringing technology into that. Those are the big spaces. We have a heavy infrastructure investing, so around data security, privacy and storage, data analytics and information, data aggregation, integration and harmonization. And then we do a lot of stuff on sort of almost the service side, so monitoring, patient engagement, patient equity, social determinants of health, all those type of things, care coordination, anything that helps the patient directly. We do things in supply chain. That's a new area for us where we're focusing on not the physicality of supply chain or manufacturing, but where data and analytics kind of run across those areas and how we better track everything we do from fraud, track and trace when we ship goods, how's the best way to ship it. So really understanding from a data perspective how we do those things better and more economically. But the whole idea is what we focus is what we just call the pharmaceutical value chain is a primary area that we focus on.
Yeah, that's great. So in your years of experience in this field, what are your opinions and where you think digital health is going? So you can either talk specifically about prescription and drug access and clinical trials, or just in general how you think AI is going to impact the digital health field specifically, or anything like that.
Well, from a pharma perspective, the biggest area that we're focusing on is, as I said earlier, is that AI and ML and drug discovery, because that is where we can have probably the greatest impact. I think from at least a pharma perspective, in the clinical trial space as well. I think where we're seeing some really interesting advancements is in the monitoring space, where the devices are smaller, faster, better. We can monitor almost everything now. And so as you think about how that ties into things like telemedicine, where we can now have remote care, so I think that's where healthcare is going quite a bit. I think there's still a big need to get access to patients, so around health equity. I still think that's a big growing area. We have a lot of us get access to medicine, but a lot of people don't. And how do we take the ability for what we do to get out to rural areas or people that don't have the income level or whatever their reasons why they don't have access to healthcare? How do we better get patients the care that they need? And I think that's probably a big area where it's going. I think one of the things that we're facing with digital health anyway is how we're going to integrate everything over time. That's one of the things that we're not there yet. There's no interoperability hasn't occurred like the banking industry has it in healthcare, and over time we need to move away from point solutions, get more of these integrated solutions that where a patient can go to one place and get as much different types of care as they can, but they then can port that care anywhere they want.
Yeah.
That they're not stuck to one local particular area. So I think that's an important area of growth for the industry as well.
Yeah.
But to your point earlier, where I think the biggest change has occurred, things like AI and Chat GPT and all these new technologies that we don't know yet, how they're going to work long term, but they're going to play an important role in the future of healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And going back to your previous point about accessibility, I think it's a good one. How do you think the popularity of telemedicine, kind of either before and then post-pandemic, has improved accessibility, or do you think there's still a ways to go for patients in more rural areas far away from hospitals and care?
So I think it helped, but the problem that people don't understand about telemedicine is that during the pandemic, most of it was used for acute care.
Okay.
One of the problems we don't see is telemedicine being used for chronic care, for things like high blood pressure or diabetes, anything that's a chronic condition, because patients still want to go see their doctor and they want to go live. So I think we saw a boom in telemedicine, but it's still primarily used for chronic or for acute care. And the question is, how do we move it to chronic care? And I think that's where the fundamental difference will change. Yes, it helped access, but access is a bigger problem than having access to just technology.
Yeah.
Right? So there's other reasons why a patient might not get care, even if they might have internet or broadband, availability. They still may not use that particular healthcare. So we have other issues, I think, around access that kind of go beyond sort of the telemedicine piece, but telemedicine in and of itself, has changed the way medicine is practiced, and it's important, but we got to move it to chronic care.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the rest of the summit, are there any particular speakers or topics that you're interested in attending, or is there a particular memorable one maybe that you have locked away from a past summit that you've been to that was particularly moving?
Yeah, I'm always interested to hear, speakers that I've never heard before, which there's a lot of them.
Right.
We keep getting new cohorts of people joining, the Breakthrough Alliance as well as HITLAB. I'm fortunate I still have a keynote to do tomorrow, and I still want, I think, 3 more panels, so I have to still do my work as well. But it's just hearing different thoughts. I mean, that's what's great about this community is you get different perspectives of different thought on, how we move digital health forward in this area. I think it's just a great learning experience, most of all. And as I said earlier, the first question you asked me, it's about community building.
Yeah.
So that's really what I'm looking forward to so much in the talks.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Bill, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Great.